Hello. Don't know why that keeps moving over there. Stupid. Hello. Hello. Sorry, be quiet right now. Just writing that tweet. All right. Hello. Good morning, everyone. A little bit early today, but I've got stuff to do this afternoon. So hopefully I'm coming through nice and clearly. Hang on, I'm going to test something. Give me a second. Good. Good to know. All right, thank you. Right. So, yeah, is Optifine guy here, SP614X. Shout out if you're here. I was watching you on my dashboard. Hey, wee boy. And Blue Sunrise and Garrett and Chilex and Rushmead and Dinnerbones. Oh, and Funk and Mongo. Posting welcome. No, I'm not posting in welcome because this is not really an official Forge thing. This is more a communication thing. We don't have an announcements channel. Maybe we should have one. Sorry, Garrett was just talking about posting somewhere in the Forge Discord. Probably need an announcements channel, to be honest. All right. So one of the primary goals of this stream was to talk to Mr. Optifine. Is Mr. Optifine in the house? No? Yeah? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to be VODing this, so yeah. I'm going to poke him actually on Discord because he really wanted to do this today. So He talks to some people, yeah. Turns out that when he wants to load Optifine into Forge 113, he really needs to talk to me to understand how on earth all of this stuff works. He has his own Discord, I believe. But, oh, what? Why is that red? Why is that red? Huh? Call you way down the list. Dooby-dooby-doo. There you are. Okay, that one worked. How bizarre. I've never seen Discord do that before. People try to talk to me all the time, Blue Sunrise. It's nothing any. Just give who a little poke. Why do I need to poke you, Dinnerbone? I was just poking Garrett as someone who I know is online right now, because I got this. Hang on. Yeah, see this? I've never seen Discord do that before. Have you ever seen Discord do this red message thing before? I never have. When what's down? Discord's down? How bizarre. Yeah, no, I've got nothing. It's just completely... oh, hang on. I'll try resending. Ah, okay. Yeah, I right-clicked the message and it came up. Thing. Okay, well, fair enough then. All right. So, yeah. I should push this commit just because there needs to be some stuff to do to tweak the... everyone's running into this problem where it's generating an invalid forge chunks. So it needs to look like this, but it doesn't right now. So but so a lot of people I think are running into this because this is not right yet, but I'll fix this in a minute. I'll talk to Lex when he's around. Dodgy connection to Discord. Yeah, maybe temporarily. Right. But nice things with newer fixes to Forge by looks things. Looks like we now have classes, so I can look at all the classes. So, oh, well, no, not that one. You need to fix the source coordinates, Lex, for this. This is... I am around to answer Forge questions. If it's to do with the rewrite of how mods work, then you're probably in the right place, Blue. My suggestion is that you hop onto the Forge Discord. Hang on, I will give you the invite link. Is there anyone here who has not got on to Forge Discord? There you go. That's the one. Thank you. Is that square brace supposed to be there? There you go. Anyway, yeah, Forge Discord. Go to the FAP channel, 113 Questions FAP, and ask a question there. There was actually an idea to maybe get a couple of people who wanted to talk into the a voice chat. That should be doable. So if people wanted to talk and ask questions directly, I can invite a couple of people into the Discord chat, voice chat. Anyway. So, let's start from the beginning. So, a small story. Let's open it up. Where are you? There. This guy. You got spooked when you saw about parallel loading. Yeah, I know. A lot of people were very, very jumpy about it. But the reality is that parallel loading is a thing that was always going to happen. The problem was that... okay. Parallel loading... yeah, it does add some risks. But in my opinion, I think they are well worth the trade-off. I don't think it's going to be as obnoxious as a lot of people say it is, because most mods generally are just doing their own setup. It does mean that certain API mechanisms that people have used in the past shouldn't really be used anymore, because you could be calling someone else's API asynchronously. But to be honest, there were better ways to do all of that stuff already anyway, almost always. So it's more about... yeah, if you're trying to do graphical stuff, you're going to have a problem. That's why we do have the sync runners. Anything with maps? Yes, somewhat. So you shouldn't be using the registry in any of the normal events anymore. But hey, that's why we've got registry events. Isn't it brilliant? It's like we thought of it and stuff. But let's start from the beginning, because I just want to go through quickly some of the stuff. You know what, Supercoder? That is a big question. Pre-init, init, and post-init. Are they relevant? Yeah, classnef daemon, you'll see why that happens in a wee while, okay? Yes, that's the idea, Chilex. I'm going to have to do a blooming chat capture if I'm going to upload this to YouTube at this rate, aren't I? All right, anyway, look. Let's start from the beginning. Problems. This code you're looking at right here is almost fundamentally incompatible with anything Java 9 and beyond. I know that there are fixes that stick a great big fat band-aid right across the middle of this code to make it work for Java 9. Those band-aids are going to get harder and harder to apply. The way that everything is going in the Java development space, you shouldn't be able to do what this code is doing, and they are trying harder and harder to stop it. This is the code that has launched every modded game of Minecraft since 2013. Okay, up till... oh, piss off, Amazon Prime. It worked okay. It's a respin of the class code that was in FML before Mojang re-implemented game launch in 1.6, so end of 2013. So when they reworked it, they came to me and said, "Hey, you've got this nice open source code. Can we take a we tidy it up, take a fork of it, and use it to launch old versions of the game? Yeah, hi, Sunika. So I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And so I took the code, I reworked it, and I turned it into this legacy launcher. And it's used to launch old versions of the game. Historical versions of the game use legacy launcher to launch. So everything from Minecraft 1.5 and before is launched using this. It does other things to try and make setting up a modded environment a tad easier. But it does it in some pretty grotesquely hacky ways because of the way that I set everything up. So anyway, this was taken and redeveloped. Mojang's using it. They've been distributing it. Hey, empty texture. Best texture. So Mojang's been using it for the last 5 years. It's pretty much everywhere. But it does not work well with Java 9. And it's getting worse. It's not going to get better. The class loader hacks in here are disgusting. They are positively vile. Absolutely awful. 1.5.2 is launched using this code. Because this code enables you to set up the applet environment so that you don't have to actually launch it via an applet. So that's the whole point of this code, is to do that. So I think 1.5.2 might actually be launched slightly differently because they were aware of and planning when this was being developed, and 1.5.2 was out, being developed and released. But certainly if you go back further in time, these tweakers over here, these injectors, they modify the game objects and create a sort of fake applet and stuff. They've done a fairly cool job. So Mojang wrote most of these bits, but the core code is mine. So this class loader here, all of this code is mine. And it's based on code that I wrote for FML for 1.2. So anyway, so this is the legacy launcher. It's basically broken. It uses a very, very, very weak source API for stuff. None of this stuff is compatible with modules. So if we wanted to go to something better in Java 9 using modules, we can't use this at all, which is a goal, by the way. So basically everything I'm talking about is sort of a wish list goal for me right now, and getting this stuff updated. Hello. But anyway, so the idea was we need to replace this. This stuff here, there's so many random questions on how is this supposed to work, and it became a complete nightmare, and the API is incredibly vague and doesn't really answer any questions on how it's supposed to actually work. So about 2.5 years ago now, I decided to rewrite everything. And at the time, Mumfrey was around. I haven't seen him for a while, sadly. But at the time, Mumfrey was around, and we spent some time working through how a better system would look. Okay? Because problems like argument management. Yeah, I would say about 2.5 years ago is when I really sat down and thought, right, I've got to do this. At the time, Java 9 was coming along. It hadn't been released yet. So a lot of the post hoc justification, which is, Java 9 is basically broken, everything, wasn't really there at that time. It was more around the fact that the API was complete pants. So, things like argument management, being able to add arbitrary arguments to the command line, have them processed properly by the argument processor, and not just explode everything all the time. And if other people put their arguments in, then we don't have namespace collisions and all that nonsense. One of the primary goals was that how long do I expect this to be finished? So how long is a piece of string? In reality, it is, I'm going to say, we are very close to a 1.0 right now. The big question I have is the question that is likely to be answered in the next few weeks now. Because there is a big, there's sort of a big gap here, because I can't fill that gap, because I'm not a person who's going to be doing this. Yeah, exactly. Soon. I'm not a person that's going to be doing this. It's down to people like Mumfree, like SP614, Optifine guy. It's down to the Sponge guys. Those guys need to tell me what's missing, because I don't know what's missing. The time to finish this is not much now. It's basically ready. The things that I'm missing are a gap analysis that I can't possibly answer. Okay? I can't answer this question. So someone else has to tell me what's missing. And I'm hopeful that people will actually start doing that now, because we are now in the longer stretch of actually people using this now. But anyway, 2.5 years ago, sat down, figured out I need to rewrite this stuff. It's not working very well. Let's do something better. So anyway, so Mod Launcher is my new implementation of Legacy Launcher. This is code that I have intended from day one is to be arm's length from the Forge project itself. As such, now that it's approaching some form of completion, I want to create a specific organization just to own this code. I don't like how Mojang was treating Legacy Launcher, certainly not since Microsoft. I won't go into any more detail on that right now. Thank you very much. But anyway, this code, I would like to create some kind of thing, because there are interests in this code base. I want to make sure that it's properly owned by the community as a whole, not just the Forge project. Although the Forge project is a community-driven project, it is owned by an LLC, which Lex manages and owns. This I want to be a officially community-owned project, which is why it's not part of Forge. It's got my name in it. So that is something I'm going to be setting up over the next couple of weeks. I want to do it fairly legit. I want to make sure it actually has some legitimacy to it. So, but anyway, the idea is this code is a replacement for Legacy Launcher. It can be used not directly as a drop-in replacement for Legacy Launcher, but it's being used in much the same fashion Legacy Launcher was used. It has much more robustness. Goals for it were to... so one of the really annoying problems is when a core mod Can we copy strike Microsoft? Oh, hush. Stop being so silly. Anyway, so one of the goals was if you've been in a problem where you've had a problem with core mods, okay? And core mods have decided, you know, there's a core mod in your system. You don't know why, but it's decided it's just going to puke every time you try and do anything. Shut up, you lot. Not going to happen. Anyway, yeah, so core mods are a problem. You know why Lex hates them so much? Yeah? Because the problem is that there's no way to figure out what bloody broke. By the time you get to where it happened, the problem happened, the core mod has sodded off and gone to wherever it went to. There's no evidence that it ever touched anything. So one of my primary goals was to come up with a mechanism that we can get attribution and blame in the core of this system. As such, and this is reflected in the core mod stuff that you've got in Forge 113. Forge 113 uses this stuff. So as such, to affect a class as a core mod, you need to identify you need to identify who you're targeting first. So if I get a crash for whatever reason, I can then go through and say, hey, these transformers, as they're called in this context, but there'll be core mods in the from FML for FML purposes. But you can say these transformers touch this class, which will help hopefully quite significantly in trying to identify why that class has failed, what's going wrong there. So anyway, a lot of this stuff is here. The auditing data is present, but yeah, exactly. A lot of this stuff, auditing data is present, but it's not currently set up to finish doing that. This is like, you know, this is like a cleanup phase that I'm going to be going through after. But the goal is that we have a proper API. So here's an API. Hey, and the goal is that oh no, final level we have 3 tiers. So transformers can target based on this T variable here. Okay. And the target types are class, method, and field. Oh, absolutely, Blue Sunrise. I was talking to a couple of people who were talking about this and starting to look at maybe doing core mod stuff in 113. And you know, they heard me make the big announcements and obviously weren't paying a lot of attention when I was making them. Discussing core mods and how core mods are going to be written in JavaScript in FML. But they didn't quite realize that the goal wasn't to eliminate core mods. I mean, yes, core mods are an annoyance, but they're a necessary annoyance. They will be ultimately the differentiator between Forge modding and Bedrock modding. The differentiator ultimately will be core mods. Isn't that a sad thing to say? Anyway, so the goal is that core mods now target things. So yes, it is a sad thing to say, isn't it? So you specify a target. I want to target this method on this class. The goal number was that the ultimate final state of Bedrock modding was Forge. They are literally saying that Bedrock modding API will be finished when it's as comprehensive as Forge. That was one of Mojang, Microsoft's statements. Without core mods, obviously, yes. But they're still a very, very long way away from that. They do have a lot. Go look at some of Atomic's stuff, and there's been a few others now that have done some really cool things with Bedrock mods. Was it the guy who emulated was it a Game Boy using 25,000 pigs? Blue, it's what it is. The day is inevitably going to come that Bedrock will ship a full API. So, is the official core mod scheme JavaScript or mixin? Core mods are written in JavaScript. If you're using mixins, you're using mixins. Mixins are not core mods. Mixins are, well, mixins aren't even working yet. So, so the big problem is that mixin needs to be rewritten to use this system. Okay. So there's two parts to that, which is that mixin itself needs to implement this guy. So this is a backdoor service for mixin and some of the stuff that we do, like disk cleaner. This is a sort of global plugin that applies to all classes. They behave more like the old core mod stuff. Why can't I talk about... Oh, that's mixer, not mixin. Nah. They split most of the Long War stuff out into services. What about Long War? What? I'm really confused. No, I don't think it should be. Oh, Launch Wrapper. Yeah. So no, because I did tell Mumphrey. Mumphrey helped me design this bloody API so that it was going to be pretty compatible with mixin. So the fundamentals of mixin setup will come in through here, the launch plugin service. But I would expect individual mixins to appear as transformers, targeted transformers, because that way then the fundamentals of attribution still stay the same. I don't really want global. I don't really want all mixins to come in through launch plugin. Okay. Launch plugin is for dist, for example, dist cleaner. Dist cleaner is about just stripping all of the blooming wrong-sided stuff out. Then we've got there's a couple more that do stuff via like event transformer. That's another one that comes through here, so it transforms all the events it can find. So they come through here just because it's a little bit easier. No. So launch plugins are 100% necessary to be on the class path, and that is not changing. Okay. Transformers, which are not the same thing as launch plugins, this is something that I'm still not 100% sure on. Because I think it would be nice to be able to, because Optifine should implement as a transformer. For example, he needs to implement himself as a transformer. MC Ender Dragon, go for it. Have fun. It's not going to be easy. I do anticipate releasing a JavaScript FML language loader at some point once I've got some time. So there will be a language adapter, but that's the next layer up. Okay, we're still on the ground floor right now. We're talking about what the entry point is into the system. So Transformers are the most like the old tweaker system. Yes, absolutely, Aurora. So Transformers are like the old tweaker system. And as such, it would be nice to get them to load out of the mods directory. But I think I would need to do it in a specific way. I think I can expose reloading this list. So that shouldn't be a problem. But it's something I'm going to have to experiment with. I would like to make this possible, because then it means that Optifine can be a transformer and load from the mods directory, same as other mods. Okay. But anyway, the fundamentals of a transformation are that it receives the input that it's transforming. For non-existent stuff, it will be like an empty class object. Everything, by the way, is ASM class nodes, method nodes, field nodes. So you don't... FML is setting up your Minecraft environment. That screen has not been in FML since about 2012. I killed it when we moved to 1.6 and the new launcher stuff. But yeah, no born byte arrays, because quite frankly, everyone was doing their class encoding wrongly. Well, not wrongly, but if someone screwed up their class encoding, then you could get weird errors way further down the line and you'd have no idea what was going on. And it turned out that they forgot to include class recode your frames. And so subsequent reloads of it broke everything. So that you get class nodes, you get method nodes. Yeah. The other thing, by doing it that way, we can kind of deal with the fact that we're going to future-proof stuff. Now, the model is that we have a problem. The problem is ordering. Okay? Yeah, exactly. That's the new philosophy for core mods as well, which I'll get into a bit later. Write it once well, not 100 times badly. How long have you been coding and when did you get into Minecraft modding? Okay, fair enough. I started writing Java in 1995 on 0.97c. Because that was the first one that was released. Me and a friend wanted to write a MUD together. Do you remember MUDs? Multi-user dungeons. Predate kind of MMOs by about 15 years. Yeah, I'm probably older than... I've probably been doing this longer than some people in the chat have been alive. But there you go. Yeah, so I wrote MUD with my friend in Java. Figured out one of the reasons why I'm quite good. Yeah. So quite a lot older than you then, Facility. Anyway, yeah, so I started writing a MUD in Java with my friend back in 1995. We tried to sell it to a friend of mine, another friend of ours, who was looking for game platforms. But he got into writing Java games for Nokia phones after that. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Devious Mud was kind of cool. I played on several small MUDs. I did play on Devious once, but you had to pay to do a lot of stuff on that, so it's kind of boring. I used to hang around. We ran several servers as well, which was kind of fun back in my university days. But I never got anywhere in any of them. I'm not a finisher of any game ever. Anyway, yeah, so I started writing MUDs and figured out a lot of stuff about class loading because I wanted pluggable modules for the MUD zones. So you could define MUD zones as pieces of Java code, upload them, and it would just inject them into the game without restarting the MUD, which was always fun. So I ended up writing an API and all sorts of stuff for doing this pluggable module system. It was kind of cool. This was back before the class loader changes in Java 1.2 basically nuked all of that code base. Kind of annoying, but there you go. So yeah, I've been coding for quite a while. I started modding Minecraft in 2010, I want to say. Yeah, end of 2010. When 173 1.8 landed, beta 1.8 landed, and there was some really cool sort of mod packs. So you could get Better Than Wolves, you could get EE2, you could get Buildcraft, you could get IC2. I figured out Blixer Star hotfixes back then. Just hot patching code. I joked in a work context for many years that it turns out me and my friend have built a blooming application server before there was such a thing as application servers. Beta 181. I think it was earlier than that. But anyway, it was. IC2 was, yeah, IC1 was like for beta 1.3, I think it was. It never really got updated. They called it IC2 and it's been that ever since. No, Thorncraft was later. Thorncraft was a couple of years later. Forestry landed not that long after. But anyway, yeah, so there was this cool mod pack. It sort of used Forge, but not really because Forge wasn't really a thing back then. But there was like this whole pile of hotfixes. So my first real modding project, I'd been playing Minecraft and I'd been modding it. I'd run bucket servers for like a year before that. And I'd been modding it, but only just by adding a few RML mods, Origami mod loader mods. Like torches on glass was always a favorite of mine for some reason. I wanted torches on glass all the time. And Death Chest. Death Chest was awesome. That's a bad taste joke, please. Oh, Carnacraft. Anyway, yeah, so I started out back then. I got involved in the community that was porting mods from Forge to Bucket, but actually this predates that. My first experience was decompiling and figuring out all of the code changes that people have made, all the diffs to the code base that people have made in 1.7, forward porting all of those patches into 1.8 so I could get the same suite of mods running in 1.8 that I had in 1.7, beta 1.7. Yeah. So how's Java 9 support with this? Anyway, so that's when I started modding. And then I got into the Bucket guys because I wanted my mods on my Bucket too. Yeah, kind of went from there really. Because FML was born out of the desire to make mod loading in Bucket work properly. How's Java 9 support? So, the official status of Java 9 support is that it doesn't work yet. The reason it doesn't work yet is because we haven't switched to Java 9. The big problem is that this blob of code right here, where are you? This guy right here has to change to make Java 9 work properly. I worked hard on it. I mean, FML had baked in support. Riz's mod loader was a lot slower than FML. A lot slower than FML? I mean, his code was terrible. He didn't know how to do a proper topper sort at all. So yeah, I mean, he came up with the whole dependency string stuff, but he didn't know how to do topological sorting. So he basically just assigned numbers and then sorted the numbers out of I know, Dries. It was a pain, but whatever. It's what happens. But yeah, no. On Java 9, this stuff, this class here, the actual class loader, will need to change to make it properly work with Java 9. But when we go to Java 9, this should be about all that needs to change. All of the API that I've written should just stay the same. Okay? And that's one of the key goals, was that because the way that the old stuff was structured, it just was never going to work properly. So this should be all that needs to change to go Java 9. And once we do, we'll have full module enablement and everything will work properly as modules, which is my big goal, because some of the problems we're seeing now are because we don't have modules. I'll go into them in a little bit because people have been bumping into them a bit, I've noticed. Zakept, yeah, they will give us quite a bit of useful functionality, actually. So, but yeah, at the present time, I think everything will run under Java 9, but it's not going to have all the features of Java 9. Yeah, drag and drop class files into Minecraft jar. That's how you did it. Till I told them, hey, you know, you just use class loader ordering and Bob's your uncle. MetaInf. You know why you had to delete MetaInf, don't you? Who knows why you had to delete MetaInf? It does. That's exactly what it has in it. So if you go into where's the forge jar? Dooba-dooba-doo. So you see here these files here. I'll open it and. So if we look at the MetaInf here, so what we've got the manifest here. Okay, so the manifest, what we actually have is we have all these digests in here, okay? And basically it's saying every one of the classes in this thing, what's its checksum? So as it loads the bytes off of disk, it uses these keys, these are signatures, a signature and a certificate, along with those manifest entries to validate the signature of the bytes on disk are the same. Okay, so if you can get it so that you don't have to do that, then you don't have to do that. And that's what I've done. So that's why that's one of the primary reasons why Legacy Launcher works the way it does. Because this was based on the code that I originally used that figured out how to load the classes from disk, get them validated, and we check things like code signers and stuff, but at the same time not actually fall over. So, and those properties still exist in the new system. So. Anyway, so Mod Launcher, the idea is that we have this new framework. Ordering is the big problem. That's where I was going. Because how do we know who wants to think? It is plain Debian. Yes, 100% plain Debian. SID. It's always SID. I've run SID for 25 years. I see no reason to stop now. 28 years. I started running SID when it was first name Sid, in fact. Hi. Yeah, it's always a good big step there. So transformers, the way they work is everyone has a vote. Okay, every time we come round to transform, we have a vote together. Okay, so each transformer that's currently capable of modifying a state of a class or a member, they will each have a vote on whether or not they're able to modify the state of this member right now. And the goal is that everyone takes their vote, and then out of those that say yes, I pick one at random and run its transformer method. Okay, and then that transformer is then removed from the list of candidates, and we keep going around that loop until we've run out of yes votes. If there's still people in the list and no one's voting yes, then that's probably a fatal bug, and I think the code currently will deliberately crash. Bit link. Oh. How do you target something? You specify a target quad when you register your transformers. So I specify a set of targets. So this is not direct API that's exposed to core mods. Okay, core mods specify a set of targets though as well. So hang on a minute, let's go over to there. Core mods, core mods. So here's your target, and then here's the transformer code that runs on that target. Okay. No worries, Emma. Yeah. Be nice to have some hands-on again. That would be good. But I think we're moving fairly well at the moment. So. Yeah, let's get Ultimate Edition, shall we? Anyway, so the idea is that the core mod is going to call a method to initialize this, and then it returns tags which contain a target and a transformer. Okay, and you can do extended functions and stuff like that. So you can also do a function to enumerate a list of targets that you want to target. No, I know, Anna. It's all right. And then we do, yeah, transformation on the class node. But anyway, the goal is that everything is targeted. So we have a class type target here, which is going to enumerate a list of target classes to target. But there are other types of target. There's method and field types as well. I don't have any examples here. So. But anyway, so that's the basics of core mod, and yes, they do sort of map into this stuff here. Okay, there will be a voting element on the core mod. I haven't actually implemented that. No, actually, what's going to happen is that I don't think the core mod is going to get a callback on this, but I've still got to figure out exactly how the voting's going to work for core mods. But the goal is that there'll be a vote round, and then it just goes round and round and round. Core mod the exams for 100. Yeah, that don't look suspicious at all. Anyway, so yeah, are you in chat now? I don't know. SV614. Say hello if you are. Core modding things is targeting the same thing is kind of nasty. So Java EE is not fun. Dude, try Java EE 1.0. Now that was not fun. You can't log in? Oh. Okay, so 614 is here. He's watching the stream, but unfortunately he doesn't have login at the moment on Twitch. So no worries. If you have questions, ping me in the Discord then, 614. Okay. So I'll just quickly go over this again for his benefit because he's here right now. The goal is that we need to deliver. I've done something. What have I done? The goal is that we need to deliver something as a transformer to the system. So currently they load from the class path. There may be 30 hours on Java EE. Gotta love it, eh? You realize you're probably just stuck with you're probably just stuck with some stupid idiot who doesn't understand it, and so they're just waffling on about it via documentation instead. The documentation is so annoyingly verbose for all that shit, and it's like 5 methods that you need to know, and that's about it, especially for the modern stuff. Yeah, it won't help. Anyway, so the idea is we've got these transformers. Currently they load from the class path. That might well change. I'm looking in ways of doing it so that I can reload these from the modding environment, so we can load them in from mods. But currently they load from the class path only. Okay. But I'm looking into ways of fixing that. So one of the things that we used to do in old days is we would just go through and... Are you still using EE2? Lex uses Eclipse. MC Mob would be my master's thesis. There's plenty of people who use Eclipse. Eclipse is not dead. Eclipse is run by a good friend of mine. But I don't use Eclipse personally because the Linux version sucks balls and has done for a while. No, it hasn't, Amma. It's gone down, like, right down the bloody toilet on Linux. On Linux, it's just unusable now. I wonder if I can show you. No. So here's the last version of Eclipse that runs. It's from bloody 6 years ago. 6 years ago. It's all right. Fuck off. Newer versions, basically the UI fails to render at all. What's wrong? Hey, look over there. Distraction. Squirrels! Where? Where? Where's the squirrel? I don't see any squirrels. No. Where was the squirrel? Someone saw a squirrel? Did you see a squirrel? Exactly. Squirrels! Squirrel! Squirrel! That's a good picture of a squirrel, actually. Anyway, so transformers. So let's go over how you're supposed to load things in and find things that you don't know about in Java. So someone said squirrel. Squirrel! Oh, hey, 614, you're in here now. Hello. Oh, maybe they fixed it finally virtual. I'd given up on Eclipse a long time ago. It is amazing. Yeah, I know. So how does Java find things it doesn't know about? There you go. We've got the new name. Thank you very much, James. That will be the new name. I will be tweeting that out shortly. Ford Squirrel Loader. That's it. Yeah. Mods are now going to be called squirrels. Okay. So you're not modding anymore. You're squirreling now. Okay. You got that, everyone? Good. Right. So the problem is that Java doesn't know what it doesn't know, but there might be stuff that you want it to find on the command line. How does a squirrel loader find its nuts? Exactly. How does it find its nuts? All it knows is that there exist nuts. Okay. So what it needs to do is it needs to create a thing called a nut loader. Okay. Which can go round and hunt around the ground for all the nuts that are buried there. Okay. So, yeah, and that's exactly what happens. So if we go down here to a launcher. So I've tried to tidy up my code a little bit. So each of the different pieces is in a handler. And here we are. This is the puppy. So ephemeral nuts. Yes, yes, indeed. This is something that is supported into Java 9. Unlike a lot of the class loader discovery hacks that we've been using in the past, this exists and has a first class entry in Java 9. This is called the service loader. Okay, so basically, yeah, I know it's a huge amount of documentation and then like about 20 lines of actual code. It's been around since Java 5, I think you'll find. 1.6, Java 6. So it wasn't available when I first wrote FML because we were based on Java 5 back in the day. But it's been around for a while. I would have implemented FML using this back in the day. Kind of, yeah and no. I mean, this is basically the fundamental piece to building a pluggable system. Okay, mods don't do this yet. They may. This is something that I'm sort of half not sure about because mods could well be things that aren't Java. Yeah. There's loads of style tags. It's very common. I mean, all JavaDoc is HTML, and a lot of this stuff is written by a generator engine anyway. There's like an IDE that they use to build most of this stuff, so it generates all these tags, not the developers themselves. But anyway, the basic idea of service loader is that what happens, and if we go back over to Forge, there's this special subdirectory here called services. Okay. And the way it works is that basically you name an interface. So in this case, CPW mods, mod launch, API, iLaunch handler service. So if we go back over here, we see iLaunch handler service. Here's the interface. Okay. Yes, marquee is definitely a thing. Then we see inside there we have concrete instances of this class. Okay, so we have FML client launch provider. Here's FML client launch provider. This is an implementation of that class. So that's what service loader does. It basically allows me to find all the things that implement this interface and provide their implementation in this service loader file. Okay. Are we all talking about JavaDoc and Squirrel Talk? Well, you know. Squirrel! Yeah, I think everyone's still paying attention. So yeah, so basically that's how we get the connection. Okay, so if you want to provide any of these services, okay, and they're all named services, we got transformation service. This is the one that does transforms individual classes. Old man's losing his mind. No, I've just found squirrels. So transformation service is the core one. 6.4, this is where you start, okay? This is the one you start with 100% of the time. All you should need to do is implement this interface. Yeah, I know that that's not a trivial ask, but you implement this interface, you drop it in the class path for now. I'm going to look into mechanisms to dynamically reload that list from the mods directory as well. So because I think it might be nice to support having those in a thing. But right now, that's the primary goal. So this is where you should be focusing, okay? No, I 100% agree, 614. Trust me, I'm aware of the fact that that's going to be a problem for production, as it were. But right now, you know, I've got to deal with a bunch of things. So we will be looking at this, and this will be fixed at some point. But we need to just focus on that. So you can add in arguments. You get called twice. You get an initialize call and you've got an onload call. And then what you do is you return a list of transformer objects that target individual classes or methods or whatever it is you want to target. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly obviously linked everywhere, but that's all right. So that's the basics of it. That depends. You can return more than one target in a thing because it's a set of targets that you return here. So this transformer could apply to more than one target. I do suggest that if you're doing different transformers, do different targets rather than have one target, that one transformer that transforms everything. There is a type of transformer that's over here. It's called the launch plugin service that transforms everything, but that should not be how you do Optifine. Okay, this will never be loaded from the mods directory. These are only loaded from the class path. Yeah. So this is more targeted to, as I say, I use it for disk cleaner. Okay, so for doing that slide stripping stuff, disk stripping stuff we call it now. So only in disk server it strips stuff that's not there. Mixin should use this to set itself up properly. Okay, it doesn't yet, but it should. We use it for the event bus transformations as well. So the event bus transformer runs through here. These have one opportunity to run. They don't participate in the voting, and they simply take the class, apply their change, and then return. So they don't have any opportunity to do more fine-grained control. They don't get to partake in voting, and they don't get to partake in veto activities. Okay. I do need feedback because a lot of the way that the voting system works now is fairly, it's kind of analogous, but at the same time not, because it is still, yeah, start from my transformation service, implement an iTransformer or two. Currently, everything is pretty much just returning yes to the vote, which is a shame, this guy here. But the idea would be that at some point this voting context can contain whatever it should contain. It doesn't contain much right now, but it can contain quite a lot. The idea of voting is to generate an order. So the problem was that all the ordering stuff we had, you know, we were picking random integers from like -65535 to 65535 or something like that. But what was happening was that they were all clustering around 1000 because that's the arbitrary number I picked for before it's unobfuscated and after it's before it's obfuscated and after it's unobfuscated. And then you start getting into problems. Well, I want to go between this one and this one, but there's no number between 1000 and 1001. So numbers are crap for that kind of thing, to be quite frank, because you're just trapped into whatever the rest of the ecosystem decides. So the idea is that the vote presents you with the context. In this case, it may well be actually returning you a clone of the class node or the method node. So you can examine it, and you can also see things like who the other voters are. And you can then decide, well, am I ready to apply my transformer or not? So you can say yes, you can say no, you can say, can we try again? I want to wait for another go because I think that guy's going to go first. It's kind of dependency linking, but it's all completely dynamic. It's not based on some random number. Yeah, that's why it's like this, because what's going to happen in that case, Nathaniel, is that most likely, if it detects that I want to replace this entire method, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, but if that's what you decide you have to do, apply patch only when source matches. Yeah, potentially 614. But maybe also I'm on do different things depending on the context. So, if it's this version of Forge, I want to do this. Or if it's this version of Forge, I want to do this. You could do that kind of stuff. The goal is that the context contains the data that you need to be able to make a sensible decision on whether or not you can apply your patch. And then you have the 4 decisions you can take on that's the context. Where's the vote? Okay. So you have 4 decisions. You can say yes, you can defer, you can say no, or you can reject it outright. So yes means I want to patch and I can patch right now. Defer means I'm interested in patching this class, but I don't think I can go right now. No means I don't want to apply a patch to this class. Reject means
I have encountered a collision, which means that I can't patch, but I want to patch, and I'm going to fail if I so I want to fail right now. Okay, so reject is a hard no, and I want everything to crash right now, and that's what will happen. So if you decide that you can't apply your patch and you know that you're just going to crash out later on, reject instead, and then the crash will come out immediately, identifying that, hey, I am no good here. There needs to be some enhancements in this area around how we communicate rejections, because currently you just say reject and you don't actually have any context to that, and I think we need some context on that. Reject is fail fast and fail hard. No means nothing, basically. I'm just not going to vote. I'm dropping out of this vote round. Defer means I want to apply, but if everyone defers, then that's an error condition, because it means that I've got 3 or 4 interested parties, but none of them want to do it. It's horrible, but that's the problem. Welcome to the reality. It shouldn't be too hard. Most of the time, most people don't touch most things. So, and most of the time, if what you're doing is you're adding in a single line of code, you're just walking down the code call tree. Yeah, exactly. After you. No, I insist. After you. No, come on, after you. No, after you. No, so if everyone defers, then it's crash. So, but yeah, no. So if you have a critical thing that you need to have in and you can't get it in for whatever reason, then generally unless otherwise, you know that there's something you can't do, you should always be saying yes. Okay, but I have added in these other possibilities because I can foresee a reason to have them in some circumstances, especially reject, because one of the goals was that fail fast is a good thing. Yeah, it's a crash, but it's a good crash because hopefully we can give some more context. That's up to whoever's doing the patching, Nathaniel. It's not something that I control. The transformer is just so after we've had our vote and I've identified a transformer to run, then the transformer is just handed the class node, method node, whatever it is, hey hef, and have at it. Good luck. So if they want to implement Java assist patching, then fine, go for it. But in my opinion, yeah, I mean, it's what it is. So for core mods are behind here. Currently, they're not directly behind here. I might change that, but they're not currently directly behind there. They are directly behind here, though. So each core mod will have a proxy object that FML has supplied that will be passed through from here. Okay. Anyway, so that's some of the fundamentals. The other part of it was launching the game. And I know that launch plugin and launch handler are very closely named, but suck it up. I'm not changing it. So launch handler service, this is something you actually will see. So if we go into here, there it is. Okay, so we go and look at inventory sorter. Okay, so I'm running this program called Test Launcher. This is just a copy of the code from Forge, by the way. I tweaked a couple of things to get rid of a bit of logging. This is a parameter to the launch itself. Okay, so launch target is target. Okay, and these uniquely identify from implementations of this. The idea is that different environments need different configuration to actually run the game. So if we look at when we spin up inventory sorter, okay, and stop. So you see this giant great big list of launch services here. We got FML user dev, FML user dev, FML client, FML server, FML dev client, FML dev server, Minecraft, and test harness. Okay. So these are different services that can launch the game in different ways and are designed for different environments. So user dev client and user dev server, these are the guys that you use here when you're developing a mod. Okay. FML client and FML server, those are the guys that run when you run the game from the command, from the launcher, from the actual game launcher. So they're the runtime one. And then we have FML dev client and FML dev server. Those are for running the game in the Forge development environment. Okay, there's a difference between these and these because here Forge is itself exploded and pre-patched and everything is already done. Here Forge is a jar that is being generated at runtime and added in, and all the bits of Forge are just loaded as another mod. Okay. Here, Forge is obviously a mod again. It's loaded as a jar, but so is Minecraft. Minecraft here is pre-decompiled, pre-deobfuscated, sorry, and pre-patched for Forge. Okay. So that's the other thing I know that you wanted to clarify, 614, is that Forge is pre-patched. Okay, there exists no running code. Well, okay. Small side rant. Why Java 8 sucks. Okay, and why Java 9 will be a really, really good thing when it happens. Okay, but first, squirrel. So there's a problem if we run this code. Okay, so if we run this code, everything looks great. Okay, yeah, here's the squirrel. Yes, it's a lib. It's surgery named, and it has all the Forge patches pre-applied. Okay, at runtime and in any normal development environment you can envisage. Okay. Hey, is that playing the music? It is. Ha! There you go. Anyway, so where was I going? Where was I going with that? Oh, I know why I was going with this. So what's happening is that a user dev environment is finding the Forge library and no, it's not. 614 is not even touched. Yeah. And that's the key thing, by the way. So this is where the little Java 8 rant comes in, because in Java 8 there's no way to say, well, actually I don't want that bit of the class path there, thank you very much. Not in a way that makes it Java 9 compatible. Because in Java 9 you can do this, because what you do is you say, hey, I want this module and this module and this module, and we would remap Minecraft as a module, and then we would literally throw away the launch context that we got. But in Java 8 we can't do that. So what you might end up happening is, if you're not careful with the way that you do your launch plugin, your transformer 614, what you could end up doing is loading in the other version of Minecraft that happens to be in the class path as well. So you could end up with two Minecrafts running simultaneously, because Yeah, because there's nothing I can do to stop you. But you're going to have a really weird time if you do that. So I do recommend you do pay a bit of attention. So all of this data, so we can see all the launch plugins here. You can see the transformer services here. So this is currently just FML is a transformer service. We can see all the launch services here. So what I suggest is you could, no, we don't want to zero out because that's just going to explode everything. Because the problem is that the launcher will go, that's not the right size. I'm going to download it again, and bang, we've exploded. So just don't. All of this data is available to you. I'm going to be, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be looking into, yeah. Well, Peterix is around and he knows what he's doing pretty well. So I'm not that worried about it. It's not that smart. So yeah, anyway, all of this information should be available to you. So you should be able to identify. The one thing I haven't implemented is this bit here. So this is naming service. So this is just going to be a simple map of like notch names to the naming convention that's in use inside of the environment at the time. So for a vanilla game, it will just be notch to notch. But for Forge, it's going to be notch to surge. But in development environments, it will be notch to MCP. So yeah, no, he's a good guy. I definitely agree with that. Other things to note, version data is using, this is in line with how this will work in Java 9 as well. So if we go and we look down here at the, let's pick one of these randomly. So these fields here are special fields: implementation title, version, specification version, title, timestamp, specification version, vendor. All of these fields are special versions fields that I now use to discover what version everything is. Okay, and the same will go for any other transformers that get loaded. The versions will be pulled out of here. In modules, there's actually a lot more functionality around this stuff. So I do suggest you try and keep it vaguely arm's length if you're going to be querying this data. But all of the Forge stuff has this stuff in it. So if you need to know what version of Forge you are, you find the Forge jar and you look at the implementation version. Okay. So that's there, and we're going to be using it when we get to Java 9, there's a better version which has even more data associated with it and is a bit more useful and fine-grained and can be used to drive dependencies as well, which is great. So anyway, so after we've got through all of that, we've actually got to the point where we can launch the game. So launch service is called, generates callable that runs the game. Isn't that nice? There's a couple of other things in here. We have this thing called iEnvironment. This contains a type safe map containing a bunch of keys, version, the game dir, assets dir, what launch target we're using. If there are other properties that we need to put in here for global, tell me, I'll put them in there. I can add stuff to this, so I can add I should be able to add Forge data into here as well. So, but you do need to be able to get the key builder to actually look up your key. So, but anyway, so that's the basic idea of that. If you put, I would do try and think about putting Optifine in here as well, so that we can find each other, because that's useful. All right. Other things to note. Can't think of anything right now. So yeah, here's your vote deadlock exception. This is your I can't figure out. It's only been 6 months here. And here's your vote rejected exception. So these two are going to throw and basically puke everything. So so that's the basics of how the transformation system works. So in the under the covers, we've got some this guy, the class transformer. He's the key guy for actually doing stuff. Here he does a some information. So a piece of context that's in the context right now is what called they're processed based on the vote. So after each vote happens, okay, we go through and then we apply a transformer to it, okay. So if we go and look at perform vote here, so what happens is it gathers all the votes, it then takes those results. If it finds reject, then obviously that's a crash. If it finds no's, then they're removed from the vote for the rest of the thing. If everyone says yes immediately, then it picks one at random, transforms, and then removes it from the list and then goes around and does it again. Okay? So if it says, if I have 4 transformers and they all say yes, then it will pick one at random, whichever one's first in the list, apply it, remove it, and then go around again. Yeah, that's exactly the point. You cannot rely on any specific ordering among yes votes. Your control of your ordering is 100% down to how you vote. If you vote to defer, you're going to get called later. But if everyone votes to defer, then you lose. That's the problem. So there may be some code here that might not be working 100% correct yet, looking at this. But I need test cases because no one's ever been able to test this. The only guy that's ever used this up to now is me. So I'm sure... if 2 vote yes, then the first one will work on the original source and then the second one will get the new transform source. So... no, he gets another vote. So he can... so the point is that he gets another vote now, 614, because it's a new piece of code. So if he decides now he's going to vote no, then that's fine, because maybe he figures, oh, okay, you already done it for me. Great, done. But if you then don't like those changes and realize, oh my God, there's no way to make my change now because you just made a conflicting change, you reject that sucker because now you're done. You can't run and you've been told you can, and I'm going to reject and fast fail. That's the reason for this model. Okay, so after each transform is run, then we go back and we get all the votes. Okay. Yes, if that's true, then 1 is probably not properly returning its vote because it might need more context, or it might be not failing to take into account its context properly. And yeah, no, it's not perfect. I agree that there may be scenarios where it could have worked, but it doesn't because of whatever. But the problem is that there is no other way we can generate a dependency ordering. And we need some kind of dependency ordering. Someone has to go first. But how do I know that 1 will fail? It's not like I can go back and try everything again. I mean, you could, but you could end up in a stupid situation where you're just deadlocked because you're just trying all possible variants of, oh, okay, we've got 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to try 1 first, 2, then 3. No, that didn't work. Okay, 1 first, then 3, then 2. Oh, no, that didn't work. Okay, what about 2? Order ID is done. No, it doesn't exist. Does not exist. It's no such thing. Gone, dead, never coming back. It has ceased to be. It's pushing up the daisies. Random is... It's not truly random because you can decide whether or not you're going to be in. Exactly. It's an XID. It's gone to the sky to meet its ID makers. Anyway. So... That's the theory. I know that there is going to be stuff that needs to be done here. But I need people to use it to tell me what's wrong. Okay? It's annoying, but it's about the only realistic solution. Okay? It's not that it's random. You just have to be aware of how it's working. And that's why I'm having this session right now. It's because I want to make sure that people understand, especially you, because you're the one who's going to be writing this transformer. Currently, it is not going to be ordered by anything because it's all coming out of the service loader. So, I don't know. I could impose an order here on the votes based on the transformer name. Nathaniel, yeah, no, okay. This is Lex. Okay. Let's just clarify something here, Lex. This isn't core mods. This is transformers. This is the mod launcher stuff that's a level above. Now, core mods inject into this with an FML wrapper around everything. Okay. So FML's wrapper is probably going to be doing quite a lot of work here. But until we've got concrete examples, the problem is file sort order doesn't exist. Blimey, 10 minutes, Lex. The problem is 10 minutes. The problem is that file sort order doesn't exist either because we don't see the files. All we see are the service loaders. Okay. Mod's called mod name. Yeah. Oldest fix in the book, but it doesn't exist in this environment. This environment doesn't see any of that. Okay, file sort order doesn't exist here. This is using service loader, which is driven by class.getResource. So that's the fundamentals. Okay, so let's go up a layer. So an example of where we've implemented all of this funky technology is right here. Okay, and here it is. So FML service provider. This is the service provider that returns that FML string. Okay. I understand that 614, but unfortunately, because it's done by the class loader, there is no way for me to control it. Okay, it will probably be stable, but I can't guarantee it, and there's no mechanism I can guarantee it unless I add in additional sorts, which I may do if we identify this as an actual problem, because I don't believe this is an actual problem. Okay, so I don't want to go adding in random stuff to try and fix a problem that I don't believe actually exists. All right. So for right now, yeah. No, exactly, Lex. Core mods will, but they'll be hidden behind an FML wrapper. And mixin will. And possibly some stuff from Sponge. Hey, Slow. Hello, hello, hello. Basically, this is, yeah, FML is just implementing this iTransformation service. And this is the entry point into Forge. So from here, everything else runs, okay? So onload runs first. Yeah, onload runs first. So we go into here, we go into run, initialize the transformation services. So we load them first, which gets all the transformation services in, and then we validate them. And then we go into the service lookups. Where are they? Here they are. So we onload them first. Okay, so we'd load them first. And then we do the transformation after that. When we do the, is it validation? No, it's initialization here. Yeah, so we load them, then we validate them, then we initialize them. So the call order over here is that we get onload first. Okay. For me, for FML, that's pretty much just validating that I've found everything in the environment. Okay. So we're looking to find a core mod provider jar that provides us with core mod. We're looking to find disk cleaner because dist needs to be cleaned. We're looking to find event bus because we need to know event bus is here. We're looking to find access transformer because we need to know access transformers present, and we're verifying that all the versions look good, okay, of everything we found. I should probably, well, no, the problem is right now I can't find Forge at this point in time. I find Forge later on. Forge itself doesn't even exist at this point. This is the, now it's actually a separate jar called launcher. So on class loading, the goal is that if it's in this FML launcher jar, it's going to be in the system class loader. So app class loader in 1.1.8 and Java 8 is going to be loaded in app class loader. And this is on the class path. Everything here inside main Java and all of the stuff related to Minecraft itself will be in the class loader that is provided by mod launcher. So over here we construct this transforming class loader from its builder, okay, and this transforming class loader is what is actually loading the game, all the mods and everything else associated with it, okay. For you 614, in general, if you have stuff that is going to be loading and you want to affect the game state, you have to inject it via a transformer through the transforming class loader, okay, and you'll have to make sure that your classes are loading in this guy's scope, okay, which may prove slightly challenging, which is one of the reasons why the transformer stuff has been at arm's length, because it's supposed to sort of the game. I mean, the actual game itself. I mean, if you want to access anything like Bootstrap or config or anything to do with the actual game state, it is loaded inside this class loader. Okay, as a transformation service, you load a level above. Okay, you load from the app class loader, so you can't technically see the game. Certainly not the game that's going to be running. Yeah, so for you, you're mostly going to be okay. But I do know that occasionally you have injected things like additional UI elements into the game. And those obviously need to be able to access the game state to actually work. So... yeah, that's right, Lex. So what I may do to accommodate making this work, 614, is that actually what's going to happen is if you specify a mod... no, they can't though. That won't work. It definitely doesn't. And it's going to get less worky as you get more thing. No, he means class path. It's going to get less worky as we go to Java 9, okay? Because the whole module boundary makes these walls much, much, much stronger, okay? In Java 8, the walls are a bit flimsy and it's fairly easy to step around them. And people who've been doing development have noticed that if they screw up something, what might happen is it actually pulls the class from the class path, and that's not work. It doesn't work properly when you do that. In Java 9, those boundaries are much, much stronger and you can't easily step around them. So it's not just going to work. We do need to make sure that that you understand this. So your patches, the code that does the patching, it should be in a separate artifact. Not yet. So yeah, your code, your transformer and the patching. No, Java 9 is not required right now. But everything is future-proofing, Slowpoke, okay? A second jar. So what I'm thinking, because I don't want you to have to ship 2 jars, that's shitty. What I'm thinking is you use an embedded jar, okay? So I'll define a new type of artifact, okay? The embedded jar, which will have to be signed, sorry, can be extracted from there and injected into the parent class path, or vice versa. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. Yeah, jar in a jar, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mojang has always dictated our Java level. But Java 9 at the present, I have to keep one eye on it because we know you could generate 2 jars. If you want to do that, then that's fine. Yeah. Well, it's not going to work, Lex. That's why. It's not about... can it directly find it? It's just not going to work. How does one get the jar sign? Key tool. Go look at key tool. Okay, there's a whole bunch of documentation on it. We've written half of it, I think. Yeah, just get a self-signing jar. There's signing plugins for Gradle as well that can do this stuff. So there's a bunch of ways to do it. But anyway, so we'll figure something out for dealing with that. For right now, just use the class path 614 for adding your stuff to the thing. We'll figure out a way to load your transformer shortly. We have to figure it out, 614. But if you want to start development right now, and I encourage you to do so, then for right now, let's just do the class path for right now. I know it's not going to work for everyone for the long term, but for right now, for figuring out all of the changes and how you're going to deal with them, start with the class path, because it's not going to fundamentally change anything but packaging. Okay, and maybe a couple of metadata tags. So anyway, Forge launches through here on initial load, sets up the environment. Initialize actually configures all of our argument lists. We load up all of our setup data, figure out where we are, figure out all of our paths. So config path, all that stuff is created there. Then we load in FML's config. There are some values that we can configure there. I'm going to be working on expanding that a little bit so that we can support things like custom mod directories and stuff like that. And then we configure our launch handler. This actually does quite a lot. This sets up our launch target. So we specify what we're doing, how we're going to be configuring it. We grab all of the MCP version data. You're missing the new one you added, Lex, called MCP mappings. So we need to add that in here too. And then we construct paths into the MCP data here. Okay, into find Forge. So this is all about trying to discover where Forge is. So Lex, in the interest of having something that doesn't need Forge, I don't mind if 614 wants to load Optifine using the transformer system. He could possibly use core mod to... no, the problem is that he needs to get into the other context. He needs to get into this context. So if his code is designed to work in this context, we can make it work however. So yeah, this is not quite rightly named anymore. This is all about discovering Forge and configuring it, getting everything set up. So it's trying to identify where Forge is, set everything up, and then finally, once it's found Forge, it constructs and sets up the language loading provider to support Forge. So, and finally sets up disk cleaner as well. Yeah. After it's done that, where is it? Over here. We actually start scanning for mods. So the game hasn't even run yet. This is before the game even starts running. And this is one of the key differences between how Java, the 1.12 and earlier worked and how 1.13 works, is that we're actually forking here. So this is creating a new thread that is now going to go away and find everything it can about what mods it can find. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different plugins for discovering mods from various different sources. We've got 3, I think, right now. So in discovery here, we've got iMod locator is the interface. And we have the Maven directory locator. So I can hand this a root of a Maven path and then a bunch of mod coordinates. And it will then load in all of those things as mods using their Maven coordinates from that Maven root. Okay, and you can have multiple Maven roots. We've got the exploded directory guy. Basically, I point to a resource dir and a bunch of class dirs, and that allows me to load in development mods. Okay, so mods that are in development will be loaded using this. Okay, and finally there is the mod directory locator. Where are you? Mods folder locator. Here we go. This is the guy that loads all the mods from the mods dir. Okay. Yeah, Killjoy. No one ever used them, so this is a rewrite. It's going to be used for doing Maven coordinate stuff. So if I want to load in a mod based on Maven coordinates and I define Maven packs based on Maven coordinates, I can do that now. There is a mod list argument, which is, if we go back up to the this mod list argument, the idea of this argument was going to be that it was a JSON list of mods. So you could JSON list of mod coordinates, so Maven mod coordinates. So I could specify a mod pack by just specifying this mod list and pointing it at a common Maven root or some common Maven roots. Okay, so that was sort of the idea of that. By the way, all these arguments are actually prefixed with FML. So the name here, FML dot, and then this argument. Okay, so if we go and look at the launcher, you can see me constructing here. So that's why FML.forge version, FML.mcp version is because these arguments are actually namespaced to my service provider. So FYI, if you want to use arguments. Yeah, a lot of this is just mod things. So after we've gone through the service, where did the service go? We load up the access transformer, which is actually a dead method now, because of course it is. So this is not needed anymore because having fixed Forge being discovered by the access transformers are loaded automatically by the yeah, I know, Lex. It's always the way, isn't it? We load the access transformers, and then the game will launch. So it'll go back to the launcher. So if we look at the FML client, launch provider. So this is going to set up the launch service for the game. So what it's actually doing here, okay, we're identifying main, okay. We are finding our lib. So if we go over here, we are looking for a libraries directory and treating it as a Maven root. I'm pretty sure there's a missing coordinate in here, because I think there should be coordinates for Minecraft itself. Oh, no, I know where it's gone. It's up here. So here we are. Here's, so what we're doing is we're finding coordinates from Minecraft. So we're looking for the Realms library. We're looking for the Minecraft library, which is going to be on the client launch provider. Actually, no, it's going to be up here. Get MC path. Here we go. So this is going to try and identify where the MC code is. So this is our deobfuscated and patched surge patched, forge patched Minecraft instance here, Minecraft code here. So we've got the srg, we've got the data, the extra. These are two different parts. This is all the assets. This is all the extra libraries that come with the server, especially. And then we have another special artifact, which is a forge version, and then which contains the patched binaries. Okay. No, this is added. This is just added as a regular path through here. So when we construct this, we add it as a transformation path right here. So this is just Forge and Minecraft. Okay, and then we specify that we want to add in a function that allows us to transform URLs. Strings into URLs. So what this is this allows me to plug in additional places to look for classes from different places into the transformer class path, and this is the related manifest locator that does the same thing. It takes a URL and returns a manifest for it. Yes, it does. It has a whole bunch more because the standard Minecraft server actually fat jars all of the libraries it needs. So you don't need the libraries directory for the Minecraft server. That's the point. Yeah. So the class bytes locator, that allows me to inject in new places to find code for the class library, the class loader, and I use this to load in additional classes from mods. That's how all the mods are loaded. They come in through me plugging into this. So this is actually a fairly new change, because the way I had it before, I had a 3-tiered mod, a class loader system, but the transformer class loader and the mods class loader just weren't working well together. And after doing some more research, it turns out that that's just not work. It doesn't work very well, and it's going to get worse with Java 9. So I figured I'd just fucking flatten it. So it's flat now. It's not one class loader, it's 2, but it's still flat. So anyway, that's the fundamentals of it. So that's how this stuff works. And from there, we construct a mod list. There's 2 mod lists constructed. There's this one, which is called loading mod list. This is the reference for all of the loading data. Yeah. It is. It's a bootloader for Minecraft. It's 100% a fucking bootloader for Minecraft trees. It's ridiculous. So this is the thing. I have a custom URL format now. So this is something you'll want to note, by the way, 614, because in where is it? Modjar URL handler. We now support this format of URL. If you want to load any resource, you can construct a URL with type modjar //mod_id/path to file, and that will then resolve in the class loader to a resource from the class loader. So you can construct arbitrary URLs. It's kind of disgusting, but actually kind of neat too. So but it really derps a huge amount of stuff, because this means that I can completely separate the URL handling and handling of mod jars and mod resource location from the actual class loader that's doing all of the class loading, because all of the resource location from mods comes through this. You probably won't need it, but you probably need to know it's here, because you're going to come across these things when you're in a Forge environment, because everything's going to be loading like this. Literally every mod resource comes through as a URL like this now. Okay, so, but it actually, as I said, it opens up a whole bunch of very interesting possibilities. So yeah, I think it might be fairly cool. So So that's the basics. Stuff that anything going on? No, don't see anything. Oh, a bunch of people there. So people talking about setting up environments. Yeah, there's been changes to glitch. Are you in the stream? Yes, yeah, it still works. 614 still works fine, but yeah, there's some interesting fiddliness because of the way the class loader structures are set up now. It's much more Java 9 compatible and ready for modularization, but it's not quite the same as it used to be. Yes, yes. Well, I mean, the first half an hour was just squirrel. So, but anyway, do we have any questions? Anyone got any questions on anything around this stuff? You know, I think a few people have been bumping into class path issues. The reason that this is happening is because I can't stop. So if we go over to here and let's just debug this. So here's the class path that gets constructed by the IDE. Problems that we have with this class path are that somewhere in here will be Minecraft. Right, we're in here somewhere. Let's do that, that might help. So somewhere in here we should find Minecraft. There it is. Oh, you removed it, Lex? Lex might have removed it. Because there was Minecraft in here, and what was happening was that if you had an invalid class reference... Oh, no, I know what it is. So... where is it? It should be in here somewhere. There. Okay. So the problem here is this. Okay. So you see this directory here, out production classes. So this is on the class path directly. Okay. No, you didn't. Oh, I was confusing myself. Don't worry about it. This is where compile classes from my mod go. Okay. And as you can see, they're on the class path, but they shouldn't be. They should be loaded through the mod locator system. Unfortunately, because of the way that the IDE works, they are here as well. Okay, and this is true for Gradle too. Gradle does this as well. So what can happen is if something goes wrong with your class and it fails to load inside of the mod locator system, what happens is the class loader falls back to loading it from the class path. Yeah, and when that happens, if it loads from the class path, it's missing all of the context. So no, you can't, because if you fatally error the class loader, then a lot of fallback classes that should load like that don't. And in 1.12 and earlier, rather than what I was doing was I was just building these huge, great big exclusion lists and hoping that it would all work. And it kind of did, but it kind of didn't too. Yeah, we had people complaining that they couldn't load any Apache libraries from their mod because, of course, we had that as an exclusion. No, you can't hack the root class loader, because as soon as you hack the root class loader, Java 9 compatibility is out the window. That's the problem. So in Java 9, you do this by splitting up module paths, and you say, hey, this is my module here, and this is not part of that module set, and you construct the module paths correctly, and you're good to go. That's why they went with this whole module model, because then you can actually control the scope that each class loader has visibility to it. Yeah, we could do hacks. I'm not going to do hacks because they only break the user dev environment, okay? They don't break anywhere else. The only place they break is when you're doing mod development, okay? By doing it this way, everywhere else is rock solid, and you've got a slight problem with class loaders maybe leaking classes in user dev. That is the 99% the reason why I'm not going to change it. Because I think that modders are smart enough to figure out if they've got a class loading issue that maybe something went wrong with loading that class. Okay? Key things that trigger it are method references in lambdas. They can trigger a class load from who knows what context, and it's annoying as anything, but it's the way that this system works. And in Java 8, there's not much I can do about it. In Java 9, well, it won't be Java 9, but obviously by the time we get there, it'll be Java 12 or 13. But once we get up to those versions, we'll erect module barriers that will make this stuff much more solid, even in the user dev. So that's why that happens, and there isn't a huge amount we can do to fix it. But just a heads up, if you do bump into those class loading problems, if you why is this class not loading properly, and then failing to see bits of the game, it's come in on the wrong class loader, and it's because what's happened is that your class failed to load and fell back. Turn on debugging of class loading and you will be able to see your class fail to load. Okay. So one of the things I want to do at the moment, we've got this. This is my copy of it. If you want to customize what your logging is, this is how you do it. You copy user dev launcher to test launcher or whatever it is and stick it in your package and then edit it to your will. This works absolutely fine. There should be, but at the moment I don't know what are class lods and what are mod classes and what are not mod classes that should fall back. So that's the primary problem right now, is that I have no idea what's a good or a bad case. So and I don't want to log all cases because you'll get an awful lot of, hey, I'm trying to load Java object from the default class path. Yeah, gee, thanks. So that's the problem you got there, because I have tried that and it just doesn't work very well. It can be a useful thing, but yeah. I will look into doing some more about it, but it's going to be 99% about just making as much noise logging wise as possible. So one thing I would love to be able to do is make this something that's customizable. Have you ever seen how Wine does debug strings? Like you do plus Wine, you do Wine debug equals minus all plus like WinDLL plus info like D3D plus debug. For Wine debug, potentially, but I need to feed it back, and that's the problem. Currently, I have no mechanism to feed back a list of classes that should always be loaded and should be considered an error back into the class loader. So maybe I will do that, but the other problem with doing that is that we could end up in a weird race condition because it is running the scan in parallel. So shouldn't do, but it might. Anyway, I want to set this up as well. I want to get a debug string so we can specify like a debug string that turns on and off these different markers, because we've got markers everywhere for doing a lot of these things, but I would like to be able to pass out a string that we can then turn them on and off easily. Exactly, because it's annoying at the moment. You have to copy this and then put this little blob of code into whatever if you want to customize. So I was removing the event bus filter so I could see the event bus logs, because I was debugging some event bus stuff the other day. So anyway, do we have any questions from anyone? Anyone in Discord? Anyone here that wants to ask a question about anything around how this stuff works? Lex, any questions? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Mods can access classes loaded from other mods. Yes. That has always been trivially true. Don't hardcode references though, because if the mod's not there, then you're going to break. Who is responsible for vanilla arguments? What do you mean? Which vanilla arguments? Are you talking about this? What, these? Well, I mean, all we're doing here is we're emulating a launcher. That's handled for you, Lex. You don't do anything. That's all dealt with here. The mod launcher deals with that now. That's not part of what happens to... so no transformer does anything anymore with the argument list except the ones they specify. Okay. There's a couple of things that are popped into globals, so the version, the game dir, the assets dir. No, we don't. 100% don't. One of the reasons we've done the rewrite was to fix that stuff. It wasn't just Optifine that we had the problem with. We had the problem with Light Loader too. we had a real chicken and egg issue with Lightloader, because if they wanted to load first, then we had the problem. And if we wanted to load first, they had the problem. Is it? That's solarized, I believe. I thought I had it unsolarized. Looks fine to me. Darkula. Oh, that's interesting. What happened to solarized Darkula? Huh. Fascinating. I thought I had solarized Darkula, but it doesn't seem to be loading anymore. No, so no mod needs to screw with the ordering of arguments at all anymore. Apparently I need to do 5 more streams to get that. So I'll probably do some pop-up streams in the next couple of weeks just for craps and giggles. Apparently if I do 10 more streams I get partner. Yeah, I know. Apparently. So, but I don't stream regularly enough. That's the problem, and I haven't been. And you know, I have a real-time job, full-time job. That sometimes it's less than full-time, but a lot of the time it's quite a lot more than full-time. So I don't. Yeah, I know. I don't get enough. I would never get enough regularity to be able to stream regularly. And what do I? Yeah, I have customers who really wouldn't like that. Yes, exactly. I'm an international spy. I can't be writing my international spy code on Twitch stream. Sorry. It's life. But no, sadly, I can't do that. So I would be streaming irregularly, and that's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's going to remain for some time to come. So while I'm around for a bit, I will probably do a few more streams. I'm probably going to do some more inventory sorter update stuff. Squirrel and the sounds of your keyboard. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's all you ever hear. Yeah. And then me swearing occasionally at the fucking idiots from bloody Infosys who wrote this fucking piece of fucking shit. What the fuck you think you're fucking doing, you twats? Sorry, just slipping into work mode there for a minute. Yeah. Trust me, as modders, you don't get to deal with the fun that is fucking SIs. Oh, fuck them. Fuck all of them so fucking hard. Jesus Christ. I had to get up 7 o'clock in the morning the other morning to get on a 2-hour-long conference call because they couldn't figure out how to configure their fucking firewall to accept an SFTP connection. Not my firewall. Nothing to do with my fucking work software. Fucking... They're the fucking idiots who don't know how to write their own fucking firewall. Yeah, it's always worked. No, it fucking hasn't. You didn't start testing it till yesterday, you twats. Sorry. I know. Yes, that's right. Well, welcome to my real life. Anyway, I won't say any more because I could get into trouble if I started talking too much about what I do. And yeah, trust me, my viewership would drop precipitously because it would just be me swearing a lot. International spy work. Yeah, exactly. International spy software development work. Enjoy, Squirrel. And with that, I guess I'm going to conclude today's stream because, yeah, I think we all need to see more of this squirrel. Don't you agree? So, does anyone have any more questions around this stuff? Shut up, Demon! Don't get me going. Oh. Yeah, I know. I could rant for hours about the fuckwits I work with, Lex. Trust me. Do we know roughly? Lex, for 113, I think we're closing in on being able to actually officially release an alpha. I don't know about you, but I think we need to talk about this privately first. But in my opinion, I think that right now, what we are looking at is tomorrow. Yeah. 113 Forge on 113. Ha ha ha. So I think that we're closing in on something that's viable enough for mod development. I think we've nailed down all of the major issues that the rewrite has presented in terms of, yeah, I know, Lex calls it a beta. I call it an alpha. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. The 29th of February. Perfect date. But at the moment, Lex, I think most of the big issues, the big showstoppers, infrastructure-wise, have mostly been closed out now. Yeah, I know. I mean, we made plenty of the bed that we've been laying in. Yeah, there was a bit of a wait for Mod Launcher, but I think there was a bit of a wait for Forge Gradle as well. I think Forge Gradle was a fairly big shift as well. Yeah, exactly. Now it's mostly a matter of backfilling the feature list that got dropped because we wanted to overhaul it all. So, yeah. Oh, one thing I will point out to everyone while I've got a captive audience. Okay, let's talk about mod lifecycle events. So, one of the key goals of doing this whole bloody rewrite was that these events, FML pre-initialization, I don't have any others in here. These events, no. Yeah, I was just going to talk about it now. So these events fire in parallel, okay? They are intended for you to set up your mod, okay? That does not include registries, okay? If you do registry access in these events, you're going to come a cropper big style because these events are dispatched in parallel. Guess what doesn't like to use parallel dispatch? Map rights. Guess what the bloody registry is? A whole pile of map rights. So what's going to happen is that you will not be able to write to the registries during these events. Okay? You do registries in the registry initialization. So there are registry events for registry. Same as in 112. They won't explode. They are designed not to explode. Okay? So outside of the registry events, the registry is read only. Okay? Because the registry events are on thread and they are thread safe as a result. I do strongly advocate, what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to pull this pre-initialization event before the registry events fire. so that if you need to do some setup to decide what you're going to create in terms of registry objects, you can do that in the pre-init. The constructor is also a valid place for doing code now. We always de-emphasize that before, but it is now a very good place to do things like event registration and sided proxy handling. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is probably going to become pre-registration. This one is going to become, then we've got, hang on a minute. Let's go, and where are we? Forge, there we go. All right, here we go. Okay, so pre-registration. This one, let's call this one post-registration. And this one is just okay. That's roughly the ideas. those are theories on what I think I should call them. We will figure out proper names, but I think we'll have one event that will go before registration. A mod event, it will be launched in parallel. You cannot access the registries. Okay. There'll be one after the event registries are fired, when you can pull registry objects from the events, from the registers, and then there will be a post resource setup one as well, which happens after everything else, because all of the resources will have been loaded and everything. And don't conditionally register things, okay? Conditional registration is not necessary in 1.13, okay? The only caveat to that statement is if you're doing dynamic resource creation completely. So if you're trying to build a mod that loads in, like, you know, some mod pack authors define 20 blocks in a config file, then you've got to create 20 blocks somehow. So yeah, fine, great, lovely, you create 20 blocks. That's about the only justification for doing that dynamic registration. Don't just half register, you know, oh, well, someone else has registered oil, so I'm not going to register oil. No, you register your oil and then let the blooming player figure out which one they want. Do they want your oil, or do they want the other guy's oil? Or do they want both? Maybe they're weird. Currently, that is something that needs to be figured out. On creation, you know, that would be more to do with configuration. So, for example, if I wanted to populate the world with my ores, that's a configuration choice. But that doesn't mean I don't create the ore objects anymore. They don't take up any space. They're just blocks. They're just sitting in the blooming block registry now. Okay? They don't do anything to be there. And if someone happens to load in a world that contains your ores, you're going to work. If you don't register them, you're not going to work. So, hey, Iton, just create everything you have to create. Always. Let the registration deal with that stuff. Okay? Yeah, exactly. Like peripherals for open computers and computer craft. Create the skeleton objects. Yes, Lotus Punk. But don't necessarily make them do anything. I mean, you should always be able to create a skeleton block. If you're not, you've probably got your code a little bit screwed up. I would strongly advocate decoupling API definitions from blocks, block states, tile entities. Use capabilities to inject mod specific states into them. Use capabilities, use IMC to decouple yourself. Don't have hard API code in registry objects, okay? What goes into the registry should be a generic block, a generic tile entity, Something that's not dependent on a particular API existing. Okay? What's registry helper event? Is that something that's going to create a bunch of registry objects? Then no, that's bad. If that's something that's going to set up a bunch of event listeners for the registries so that you can then create the objects in the event listeners in the registries, in those event listeners, then that's good. How close we regain customized work type? I think that's probably just a missing patch. It's probably just a missing patch, Geodude. I mean, they did re-implement the whole bloody world definition stuff in 1.13, so it's probably a fair bit of work to re-add those patches. So if it's missing, my suggestion is get in the Forge Discord and help us fix it. It's not like it's something we don't want to do, it's something we've had before, but a bunch of that code did move quite a lot in 1.13. So yeah, Buffet is their new name for that custom world generator stuff, wasn't it? Nothing but ocean, baby. Fair enough. So do we have any more questions yet? Yeah. We do need everyone to start getting on this stuff. The sooner people start developing, the sooner we start getting a mod ecosystem running, the sooner we can start figuring out all of the fun concurrency bugs we're going to have with each other. Okay? It's all right. I think Nathaniel's trying to... yeah. Lex, it's basically a no-op, is what it is. So, anything math related you can help out with? At the moment, I think we're pretty good on the math stuff. It's not doing anything. It was literally doing nothing. It wasn't registering anything, was it? I didn't see anything registered. There's no code that does any registration here at all. It's just adding a bunch of nothing to array lists. You should expect mod ID entity. There might be some glitches with prefixing right now, which I need to look into. I know the prefixing stuff is a little bit weird. I mean, if there was something going on later on that done something, maybe. I mean, you definitely, if this is doing any actual registration at all, then it's no good. Okay. Well, I mean, if there's a missing piece of code that I haven't seen, then fair enough. It's not great, but whatever. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world. So, yeah, you do have a slight problem there, Dries, but I think that that can be addressed. First of all, how are you actually handling the combinations? You can't be generating just bare blocks for every single possible combination, can you? Surely what you should be doing is you should be doing block states. Or TEs. I probably wouldn't go towards TEs myself just because of the extra input. Yeah, so if it's block states, then what you're really creating is you're creating a sort of extended block state which has all of the different stone types. Block state's not actually a real registry, is it? You know, you just need to make sure you enumerate all the possible block states properly. Yeah, no, but I think in 1.13 I would probably be looking at doing block states for all that stuff. So yeah, it sounds like you have like a three-way block state: stone type, ore type, and grade of ore. And you know, because metadata's gone now, there's no such thing. They all just get stored into the chunk pack as packed as that string, that three-way string. So you know, you probably want some nice code to load in. The block state properly and handle it when it's not necessarily there, like if a new stone type has disappeared. But you know, I think you could do that in block states, which is not even requiring a registry. You register one block and then it enumerates the block states out of that. So that's how I would do that, which means that suddenly what sounded like a horrendous nightmare, a combinatory thing is one block. It's like the Tinker's example from the other night, where you have all the different materials and you have all the different types of thing, but in fact it turns out there's one item underneath it all, which is the Tinker's item, and then you have various MBT that specifies all the different things. It is an issue in some sense, yes, Lex. Well, the state mapper was really a band-aid to do metadata to state. In the general case, Lex, I agree, yes. For some of those combinatorial ones, there might be a problem. But anyway, I think I'm going to conclude the stream here unless there's anything else anyone wants to ask right now. I think we'll probably do some announcements around renaming some of these events soon, because I think no, I haven't been watching Hef. I've been working all week. Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to watch any of that. I generally don't have a chance to watch stuff during the week. I'll often have a stream up in the background and I'll chat in there occasionally, but that's just me bouncing between calls, and GDQ is just not the kind of thing you can sit and have running in the background a lot. Yeah, no, I mean, I encourage everyone to get on 113. The plan is that I think once we've figured out what a good baseline is, we will immediately do the 113.2 uptake. Am I right, Lex? I think that was the last time we talked. That was the plan, was that as soon as we've got registry sorting is not defined. So hopefully, maybe even as soon as the next couple of weeks, we'll have 113.2. And when 1.13.2 lands, then expect an actual official release of Forge. At which point we're probably going to be looking to start uptaking some of the later snapshots for 1.14, just in case there's any big impacts coming in there. Geodude, I would strongly suggest you come along to the Forge Discord and ask that question in general. Yeah, we'll go back to snapshots again. So, what sorting issues, Dries? You need to enumerate an issue, please. Is this a 1.12 issue or a 1.13 issue? Yeah, it's a can of worms there, Lex. Hopefully, once I've got a bit of time, because mod loader's finally finished and I've got all the FML stuff done, I can help out again with that again. I don't think so, Dries. We can probably figure out exactly how that's going to work, and that's trivially easy to control. How much faster is it? That's very difficult to know for certain, Yui, because we haven't had a lot of mods. It feels significantly faster so far, but we don't have a large number of mods to know for certain. And I think that one of the things that's going to be challenging is that everyone needs to think in terms of parallelism. And the risk is that they're going to use everyone's just going to dump all their code into some of the sequential events that still exist, and we don't get the big benefits. But I am intending to go through and do an audit pass where I add in auditing for all of the different things. So I'm going to populate a whole crap ton of stopwatches in. So when things run slowly, I'm going to be starting to name and shame. So then, anyway, yeah, that's the goal. It should load faster because we're going to have parallelism, which will help quite a lot with because there's a lot of thing. It's terrible. I'm sure it is. There is a lot. There is parallelism. There's a lot of I/O. A lot of mods do the reading config files and resource files and stuff like that. Which means that we should be able to get a very decent degree of parallelism going on while all the I/O threads are waiting for their I/O resources, and hopefully that's going to really improve the load time. The other key thing is that because we've deobfuscated and patched before the game ever even loads, that will have a very significant impact on the overall performance. We know that alone was accounting for around about 20% of all port performance. Generally, yeah, registries should not be interdependent. I know items and blocks are, but otherwise there should be no interdependency. Well, all the mod loading is. These events, all of these mod lifecycle events are dispatched parallel. Client init, fingerprint violation is not fired right now. Load complete, mod ID mapping is not fired right now. Post initialization, pre-initialization, server init. Server init? Oh, yeah, that's server init, yeah. These are sided events. So these events fire on one side. Client init fires on the client side and server init fires on the server side.
sounds and blocks are dependent. Well, there you go, Lex. Maybe we do need to have a small tree of dependencies in there. Anyway. FML log is gone. Okay, well, I suggest you look at 113 because a lot of that stuff has changed. So, all right, let's wrap this up. It's nearly 1 o'clock, so have a good day, everyone. Take care, and I will be putting this up on FOD later on today, probably on my YouTube. I'm just going to dump the chat, the thing directly up there. So. Catch you guys later. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.